The umbrellas and the umbrellas. Bring your parents, all it may be small, it may be big. In fast them all with what you call the thing of the day. The matter, it looks like
What's up, everybody? This is Super Mike 2164. We're going to go into E Franklin Frazier a little bit. This is a black sociologist. Back in the 30s, 40s, he was studied black people, the science for Fisk University. A lot of the stuff that in sciences that our forefathers learned and lessons that our people learned, we've forgotten because we depend on white people to teach us what they want us to know. So they're going to always teach us, easy, make it easy for them to be, there's something to make it easy for them to kick our ass, basically. So that's basically how I look at it. So he studied the Negro family, and this is what we're going to go into. Notice he says, because of its struggle to gain acceptance by whites, the black bourgeoisie has failed to play the role of a responsible elite in the Negro community. E. Franklin Frazier. Okay, so if you look at how the Jewish elite, make sure they handle their people, all of them aren't super rich. But the ones that are, they make sure they build something and make a way for their people. And this is something that black folks could learn from. The reason why the black elites are weak and putty in the face of their counterparts is because they don't learn their own history. So let's look into some of it. I just want to give a decent little introduction to E. Franklin Frazier, just real quick. Hold on a second here. Let me share my screen. And we'll do this. Hold on a second here. All right. So E. Franklin Frazier. All right, there it is. Edward Franklin Frazier, the most prominent African-American sociologist of the 20th century, was born September 24th, 1894, and died May 17th, 1962. Okay. Best known for his critical work in the black middle class, the black bourgeoisie, 1957, Frazier was a harsh critic of Jim Crow as the great inhibitor of the American dream for the American Negro. Frazier was born to James H. and Mary Clark Frazier. His father worked as a bank messenger, and his mother was a housewife. Both parents stressed the worth of education as a path to freedom and as an instrument to fight for social justice. After graduating from Howard University with honors in 1916, Frazier taught at a variety of educational institutions, including Tuskegee for Booker T. Institute, St. Paul's Normal and Industrial School in Virginia, Baltimore High School. In 1919, he arrived at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, to begin work on his M.A. in sociology, which he completed a year later. Like many of his black contemporary scholars, Frazier used philanthropic funding to continue his studies at the New York School of Social Work, and overseas at the University of Copenhagen. Upon his return to the U.S., he accepted a position at Atlanta University. As its director of social work, Frazier's lifelong image as a harsh critic was revealed in a scholarly essay in 1929 issue of Forum magazine entitled The Pathology of Racial Prejudice. This was his essay to examine white racism and its effect on its black victims. Its penetrating critique, however, led to his dismissal from the university. So they fired him. All right, so that's all I'm going to read right there for now, because that gives you the basics. This is E. Franklin Frazier. And this is going to be very quick, very, 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 very quick. I'm going to read something from this particular book. Well, this is a little pamphlet about the book, and I'm just reading from the preface. He says that the purpose of this study is to present a study. It is the purpose of the present study to show in a more thorough-going fashion how these families, which is the black, they call them Negroes, dead families, originated and became the vanguard in the cultural and economic progress of the race. You got to realize that black people were advancing by leaps and bounds, right after slavery. And that's what was worrisome to the enemy. So let's go to chapter 1, origin, growth, and distribution of the free Negroes. Now, I'm not going to read from the beginning because really this is going to be very quick. And I just want to read this portion. I think here, let's see. All right, so we'll start here. So he's going to say, the free Negro population was increased through 5 sources. Number 1, children born of free colored persons. Number 2, mulatto children born of free colored mothers. Okay, so the white man raped or went into his slave or these free black women, the white man. Okay. Number 3, mulatto children born of white servants or free women. He worked in the house of that white man. He's going to have sex with the woman, and some of these white servant women would have sex with black men. And number 5, manumitted slaves, or number 4, Number 4, the children of free Negroes and Indian parentage. And then that's there. So you can't say that the black Americans don't have Native American ancestry because he documents that. Number 5, manumitted slaves. Now, manumission comes into play here. So the increase in the free Negro population through the offspring of free colored persons, though difficult to estimate, contributed to the growth of this class until emancipation. Likewise, the numerous cases of offsprings from white fathers and free colored mothers would indicate that from this source, the free Negro population was constantly enlarged. Mulattoes born of white servant mothers, women, and free white women were also a significant factor, for it was soon the cause for special legislation action. In Virginia in 1691, they passed a law prescribing that any white woman marrying a Negro or mulatto, bound or free, should be banished. Maryland in 1681 provided in an act that children born of white servant women and Negroes were free. 11 years later, any white woman who married or became the mother of a child by either a slave or free Negro became a servant for 7 years. Pennsylvania found it necessary to restrict the intermarriage of Negroes and whites. Through legislative action, 1725 to 1726, after having punished a woman for abetting a clandestine marriage between a white woman and a Negro. In 1722, this restriction was swept away. as well as the other restrictions upon the Negro. In 1780, seemingly mixed marriages became common, for Thomas Brannigan complained. So this is some complaint from Thomas Brannigan in the records of the United States here. And we're going to read this quick and document it. So he says, there are many, very many blacks who began to feel themselves consequential. They will not be satisfied unless they get white women for wives, and are likewise exceedingly impertinent to white people in low circumstances. I solemnly swear I have seen more white women married to and deluded through the arts of seduction by Negroes in 1 year in Philadelphia than for 8 years I was visiting the West Indies and the Southern States. I knew a black man who seduced a young white girl who soon after married him and died with a broken heart. On her death, he said that he would not disgrace himself to have a Negro wife and acted accordingly, for he soon after married a white woman. There are perhaps hundreds of white women thus fascinated by black men in this city, and there are thousands of black children by them at present. Excuse me. So it's difficult to determine what extent the intermixture of free Negroes and Indians contribute to the growth of the free colored population. There was always considerable association between the Indian and the Negro. See, there was always considerable association there. And both in areas given up to Indians and outside of these areas. Manumission, which was the important means by which the free class was increased, was accomplished through both public and private action. The earliest known will emancipating Negroes was dated 1645. Excuse me. By its provisions, a certain Vaughn freed his Negroes at certain ages. Some of them he taught to read and make their own clothes. He left them land. As early as 1710, the legislature of Virginia conferred freedom upon a Negro slave, discovering a conspiracy of diverse Negroes for levying war. So this was in Virginia too, same place where Nat Turner did his thing. So in 1710, a Negro was given his freedom because he told. And that was manumission. He was given manumission. And for the meritorious public services. So that was their tradition, to give manumission for meritorious public services. For example, Pierre Chastain of Mobile was brought and freed by popular subscription in recognition of public services in the War of 1812 and the yellow fever epidemic in 1819. And so that's all we'll read today. Like I said, guys, we should learn about E. Franklin Frazier. This book is the book that inspired Moynihan to write the Moynihan Report. This book influenced your welfare policy. This book influenced your public welfare policy because that's what the Moynihan Report influenced, the Negro family. All right. And so with that, make sure you press the like button on this. If you like this type of content, make sure that you keep pushing it out. Let us know what you think. And peace and love.
doodle, I'm a doodle, I'm a doodle.